All right, quick demo on how to use the Spincoater. It's in the ventilation hood so that we can use solvents. Flip the lid up. Inside here we have the rotor, which is on a spindle. This is what spins at a high velocity. You can hear the gas. The spindle is sitting on a cushion of nitrogen air. I'll show you how to turn that on. And this is our adapter to our vacuum chuck. There's several adapters for different size samples. So you just need to make sure your sample that you want to hold onto the vacuum chuck is larger than the O-ring itself. That's how you choose that. So we put this down in here. You need to make sure the inside is coated with aluminum foil to catch all the spray from the excess waste when you're doing your spinning. Okay, so to boot this thing on, the first thing I want to do is turn this unit on. I'm going to reach around to the back and there's a button that I'm going to push. Press that in and you'll see the display light up. Second thing I need to do is turn the vacuum on. And so the vacuum and the solenoid are down under here. So all you have to do is flip this light switch on and close the door. Last thing you need to do is take the tank on the right and just open the main valve. And then remember to turn this valve off when you're done using the Spincoater. So I come over here. So the next thing I want to do is position my sample. So I just have a piece of glass here that I want to spin coat. And the most important thing is when you're placing this on the vacuum chuck, that this is as centered as possible, because you could imagine if this is off center, we're going to generate a lot of force and that can cause damage to the machine. It can also throw your sample. So you want this centered. Best way to do that is to look at the O-ring and move manually the rotor and just make sure that it looks symmetric everywhere around. Once you have it in the position you like, you press the vacuum button down here. Right now the vacuum is flashing because it's not engaged. I click vacuum and you can start to see the vacuum pressure here. Now if I go over to my sample, I can try to dislodge it, but it's being held down by the vacuum onto the vacuum chuck. So the next thing I need to do is close my lid so that I don't get any spray. The spindle will not turn unless the lid is closed, so the lid has to be closed, and you can dispense through the hole at the top whatever the solution is that you want to spin coat. So if I go over to my display, this is where I can choose the recipes for my spin, and I can edit the recipe. So there are about 20 different recipes with letters that are denoted in the top right corner. So we're in recipe A. Recipes that get used frequently, you can write down here on the recipe. So here's recipe A, B, C, and it gives you 2 steps, 500 RPM, 5 seconds, 3000 RPM, 30 seconds, etc. So if you want to look at what steps are programmed into recipe A, we can select F1. This is the program button. F1 tells us, okay, we're in program mode, and there are one of 2 steps. We're visualizing step 1 right now. Step 1 is telling us how long we want the step to spin for. And so minutes, seconds, I have 0 minutes and 5 seconds. RPM is how fast it's spinning, so it's going to spin at 500 RPM for 5 seconds. Then it's going to proceed to step 2. To go to the next step, I click the step button here. That goes to step 2 of 2, and now you can see we're at 30 seconds, 3000 RPM. So this is a 2-step program, 5 seconds at 300, and then 30 seconds at 3000, and then it will stop. So to get out of the program mode, I'll press F1. I don't need to edit anything. Cool, so once I'm ready to go, I'll have my solution that I want to spin coat ready and some method of dispensing it, typically a pipette. You may need to vortex and mix that before you start. So once you're ready to go, your substrate's there, it's nice and clean, everything's good, you're on the right program, then you're going to click run and it will immediately start. So I'll click run, you'll see the spinning of the substrate, you can hear the spindle. And if you look at the display, we're already on step 2, and you can see the step 2 is counting down from 30 seconds once it reached 3000 RPM. All right, so when your recipe is done, it'll look like the start of your recipe. The spindle should be off, and you should be able to see your sample not moving anymore. And so we can look through there. And so I can open up my lid here, and the sample is still under vacuum, so I can't pry that loose until I press the vacuum button, which will break the vacuum. So I'll press this, you'll hear the solenoid kick in, and now it's flashing vacuum on my display. But you'll still have to break that vacuum, so you can slip your edge of your tweezer under here and just release the pressure. Now you can grab your sample, place it where it needs to go, and move on to the next one.